Welcome to Intimacy Play, a podcast by Pleasy. We host open discussions with world-leading experts on couples, sex, and intimacy, so you can build a more exciting, fun, and intimate relationship. I'm your host, Mikaela Silva. Hi everyone, good morning or afternoon, whenever you are listening. We have another episode of the podcast and we have an amazing guest with us. Today we have Alice Broster, and she is a freelance journalist. So Alice writes about health, tech, sex, dating, and books for very interesting news outlets like Bustle, Forbes, Metro, HuffPost, and so many others. And today we also have another guest with us. We have Natalie. So Natalie is actually from our internal team. She's from Pleasy Play, and she is our community and content manager. So welcome the both of you. Hello, Alice.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, Natalie.
Hello. Good to be on.
So just before we start, I want to say that today's episode is a little different. So today we're going to talk about Valentine's Day. You know, it's that day of the year that everybody thinks it's the only day that you can be or should be romantic. Not at all. And with lockdown and with COVID, it's definitely a very different year. So we are going to ask Alice for her amazing tips about this day and about relationships in general. And Natalie will also be answering our community's questions and also asking Alice to help her out in giving suggestions to what everybody's been asking on our social media. So just to get a kick into this, Alice, can I ask you how and why you started writing about health, tech, and sex?
Sure. I think in our own personal relationships, so with friends, everyone loves talking about relationships. They like talking about who people are dating and where people are at with dating, how they're feeling. And I think we really minimise these conversations as not being important, when in reality, I think it's really healthy that we talk about different relationships and also problems in relationships. So really it sparked from a personal interest. I am that nosy friend who kind of likes knowing what my friends are doing. But it's kind of sparked from there. And I think you realise everyone has the same questions. So the things that you're worried about, other people are generally worried about. And it's all sparked from there. I just think it's interesting. It's kind of nice to talk about.
So that's so cool. You're making, average questions that people have and think that they're not so average. You're just answering them and making them something simple?
Yeah, for sure. I think we build a lot of stuff up in our relationships. Like we build a lot of things up to be very big problems, when in reality, if you talk about it, like not much can't be solved once you kind of sit down and actually talk about it.
I know. I mean, you wrote an article for the HuffPost a very short while ago. So it's September last year, where you were saying how bad sex education actually shaped your sexuality. You think this is true for most people?
Yeah, for sure. I think you're taught, well, generally, sex and health education is very basic. You're taught the ins and outs of sex, what it physically is. And it's also a very narrow view. It's what heterosexual sex is. You're not taught about emotions. You're not taught about consent. You're not taught about LGBT relationships. I think and it informs how a lot of people feel about their sexuality going forward. It informs a lot of your kind of formative experiences and also what you expect from those formative experiences. And you're not taught to kind of speak openly about it. There's still kind of embarrassment and shame surrounding it. So you're not taught how to verbalise what you want or what you need, and that sex is for pleasure, not just for babies. So I think it's the narrow view that people are taught. It can really, unless you look elsewhere, unless you kind of go to find like more broader views, I think for a lot of people it can be quite stifling.
Makes sense. And I do think you help a lot with the type of articles that you write. I was reading also another one that you wrote about masturbation and how it's something that you should do, and it's good for your body, and it's something that's pleasurable. But again, that's something you are not taught in sex ed, is it?
No, not at all. And also that is taught to, like, we grow up thinking that's something secret and kind of bad. and you shouldn't do it and it's not good for you, when in reality it's very good for you, especially in times of kind of high stress like at the moment. And it doesn't have to be something that you do alone. You can kind of get your partner involved, and it doesn't need to be this kind of shameful, embarrassing, kind of dirty thing. It is actually something that's very, very good for you and that you should feel kind of happy to do and explore.
Yes. Thank you for that view, because it does help a lot of people that have shame around that to understand that it's something normal, that everybody does it. And if they don't, they can, if they want to, because it's good for yourself and for your relationship as well. So I have here a very big question about Valentine's Day, going, a little bit digging deep into this day. Do you think that it's fair to only think about a romantic day in a year? Do you think that people should be focusing all this energy in just one day, or how can they do this like every single day?
I think it's really difficult, because I think for a lot of people, Valentine's Day comes with a lot of pressure. They're like, oh, I need to, produce this lovely meal and be all loving and get presents and blah. When in reality, I think it doesn't need to be that big of a deal. Like, it's nice to have a meal together. It's nice to kind of be in each other's presence. But if you've got things that you kind of would like in your relationship, try to kind of sprinkle it throughout the year. It will probably make you happier for longer. Like, a nice Valentine's Day is nice, but there are you don't have to have like your best sex on Valentine's Day, or like you don't have to use it as an excuse to wear a certain outfit, or you can do it at any time. Like, it doesn't really mean anything.
I think sometimes it's even better if it's another day, because you're not expecting it, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have here a couple of questions, Natalie. I don't know if you can...
Yeah, so we have this awesome community, and they have some amazing questions regarding, sex, relationship, intimacy, that we'd love your help in responding and answering them. So we've got a few. And so this is an interesting one. How do you know if someone's the one? How do you know if your partner is the one?
I think it's really funny. I think people have different views on the one, and I am not a believer in the one. I think it's really difficult because there are a lot of things that make people compatible. So being conscious of the things that you're into. So say if you're super ambitious, like you work hard, that's important to you, then go out and look for that, and don't compromise on that, because you shouldn't have to. But also, if someone's a little different to you, don't sort of write them off and be like, oh, well, we're not the same person, so we can't be together. And I think that someone is a good one. Leave how you feel. So if you leave feeling really great, you've had a great time, you have good conversation, you feel like inspired around them, I think that is a highlight of like a good relationship or a good connection. But don't put too much pressure that they're not the one.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's that kind of gut feeling as well. Like, don't underestimate the power of your gut feeling. Listen to it. Yeah, definitely. What are some tips on how to kind of keep your relationship interesting and fresh? And particularly right now, I think that's super important.
Yeah, I think people are kind of in two different positions at the moment, where either they're in lockdown or in some kind of situation living with a partner, or they're separate and it's been very hard to see each other. And both are equally really, really difficult. If you're seeing each other every day and you've got into the routine of kind of working, eating at home, doing nothing in the evening, it can become quite stale quite quickly. And if you're experiencing your own low moods, like if you're struggling with mental health stuff during this time, it can be difficult as well, because that's a lot of pressure to put on a partner. So I think having separation during the day, so not necessarily working in the same room if you can, and then coming together at the end of the day, and maybe bring in some stuff about like the mundanity of your day, but also just try and be excited in each other's presence, like cook a nice dinner, watch a cool movie or something, like do something that takes away from kind of how dull stuff can be at the moment. And I think if you're separate, try and bring the same thing to if you're doing video calls or if you're meeting up and going for like walks and stuff. Try and make it as special and like not dull, because I think it's just so easy at the moment to just fall into a pattern of this is life, every day is the same. Like everyone's stressed out, so don't touch me, don't talk to me. So I think keeping things a little bit fresh and not falling into a pattern of just moaning about the situation is quite helpful. Just try it. It's real effort. It's a lot of effort.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's hard sometimes to kind of, you want to, I guess, schedule that time in and carve out that time. But how do you carve out that time and actually, I guess, schedule it in, but still make it exciting and spontaneous?
Yeah. I think it's difficult because I think everyone finds it's like spontaneity is exciting, isn't it? So when you're having to like book in a day night, it's like the opposite of spontaneity. But I think maybe getting dressed up, like putting an outfit on that you wouldn't wear around the house, even if you are just staying in the house, and just like putting a bit of makeup on or doing something that makes you feel good in yourself in order to kind of take you out of the situation a little bit. And then it like, you can't expect someone else to make you feel totally happy, but if you kind of elevate yourself and make like the effort, they will do the same. It keeps things a bit more interesting.
Definitely. And you mentioned previously kind of mental health and kind of given lockdown and given COVID times. What is the impact on mental health kind of have on a relationship? I guess, how can it be improved?
Massive. I think it's really hard if you are feeling very down to verbalize how you feel sometimes, because I think when you're in it, it's very hard to find the words to explain it to a partner, especially if they kind of don't understand. I think, like, speak to yourself. I like to say, speak to yourself how you'd speak to a friend, because I think we're often much kinder to our friends than we are to ourselves. So try and think of yourself as like, well, okay, if like my best pal call me up, not feeling good, what would I say to them? And try and practice what you would say. And it's really hard. But communication is definitely key. So just make sure that your partner understands that it's not them. Like, you're not pushing them away. It's just you are feeling stressed or anxious about the situation or depressed. And they are helping by being there and supporting you, but you are not feeling so good at the moment and you are doing your best, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think open communication is kind of always, I guess, the cornerstone of good relationship and kind of keeping your mental health there. Yes, thanks for that. And here's a bit of a tough one. But somebody is in a relationship. If someone in a relationship has cheated, is it possible to repair the relationship or regain that trust, do you think?
I think this one is a really difficult one, because I think we all have different boundaries as far as cheating is concerned. And one of the most important things in a relationship is trust. You've got to be able to fully, because it's very vulnerable to be with someone. I think you shouldn't minimize how you feel. So give yourself some time. You don't have to tell someone like, oh yes, I'm ready to let you back into my life, or I can't be with you straight away. Really dwell on how you feel and then say it. And even if you think you're going to upset that other person or it's going to make things awkward, feel it. Like, when it comes to cheating and things like that, it will fester. Like, it will just stay inside. Every time they're on the phone, you'll be like, oh, who are you messaging? So it's important to say it, because otherwise you will get very insecure about it. You've had those conversations, once you've decided what you want to do, you can't change their behaviour. They have to want to do it. So as far as communicating what they need and changing bad habits or whatever, they have to do it. You can't be like, I want you to do it, so you have to. They have to want to still be part of that relationship. And just because they've cheated, it's not a reflection on you. It doesn't necessarily even mean that they don't love you anymore. It's something that they have done and you deserve to be happy too. So I think it's, like you say, open communication is so key. And also understanding that it isn't you, it's them.
Yeah. As you say, open communication is key. And I think, it takes work to maintain a relationship and kind of build that. And here's another one. A person in our community has got in touch saying that their boyfriend's drug addiction has made their relationship toxic. Do you have any advice on kind of how to handle a situation like this?
Yeah. I think this one's a really difficult one. And I think if you are going through that situation, it can be really helpful to get in touch with someone like a counsellor or a therapist who's has a specialism in that subject, because they will absolutely be able to guide you. But I don't think dating someone who has either a history of substance abuse or is recovering from substance abuse, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. But I do think that if that's starting to encroach on your relationship and you no longer feel like an equal participant in your relationship, I do think that you, like I say, you deserve to be happy. And if it's a boundary, then maybe you need to articulate it in a way that they know that it's not judgmental and that you do love and support them regardless, but that they're hurting you, and you can only go so far. You can't live miserably in order to kind of try and keep the peace. But like I said, there are so many awesome sort of relationship and also substance abuse charities and therapists out there that like absolutely specialise in this area. And I do think it's a really difficult one.
Yeah.
Natalie,
definitely.
we're having some really tough questions for Alice. So people are really digging deep.
They are digging deep. Yes, I told you, you have a great community. But we will a little bit lighter, on a lighter note. We also have a question. And what do you do if you have flatmates around constantly? How can you carve out the time for your relationship and, spend time with your partner? If kind of there's all these people around constantly. So here's a lighter one for you.
Yeah. I think so many people identify with this. I definitely do. Over the last few months, like everyone has got to know their flatmates much better, and not necessarily for the better. Just everybody is around all the time, and that's fine. And it's nice to do things as a house as a whole, because obviously that is important at the moment if you can get that personal interaction. But also, I think like sort of organising date nights where it's just you and your partner, where even if you just sit and eat food and watch a film, but it's just the two of you, is so important, because I think you can it's very easy to feel like friends if you don't have that time together. If you're constantly around other people, it can become very easy to just be like, oh well, we've lost the spark, or we've not really connected. We might have been sleeping in the same bed every night, but I don't feel like I've really spoken to you for like 2 weeks. And also speaking to your flatmates about it, because I think if they're at all reasonable, they'll understand that you will hang out with them on 3 nights a week. But, there's the rest of the time you do need that time just to be together. And they should understand that. They might be a bit funny about it, but they should understand.
Yeah.
On that regard, can I ask a question? So this is actually something that just sparked my... I remember the thing that I talked to a friend. So she's Portuguese and she went to the UK. And just talking, about roommates and how to have it spicy and how to make it spicy, with other people around, quotes here. She was telling me how, the rooms had very thin walls when she was in the UK, when she was living with some people. And people just look at her weirdly when her boyfriend was around, because apparently they were hearing a little bit more than they asked for. And she was just talking to me saying, in Portugal, if this would have happened, people would just look at me and say, yeah, you had a good night. But in the UK, it really wasn't well perceived. Can we talk about this? Is this really how people, in general, obviously, but is this like something badly perceived in the UK?
I think it's really difficult, because I know personally where I live, so if anyone hears anything, it's kind of made a bit of a joke of, but there are a few people I live with who are just like, oh gosh, like, ugh, how dare you? And it's kind of like, well, like it happens, like good for them sort of thing. And I do think that people need to understand, like, they deserve to live in the house as much as you do. And it's like sort of a respect thing. So don't be over the top or sort of too much, but also you shouldn't feel self-conscious in your own house. Like you do you sort of thing.
I just thought it was so funny, the way that she was talking about that, saying, if I hear something, I just think it's sexy.
And they were just looking at me weirdly. So it was just such a funny conversation. Sorry about that, Natalie. Carry on.
No, it's fine. It made me think of, there's a new trend on social media of sending dirty texts to your partner while they're like surrounded by their family or like lots of friends, and to see like filming their reaction. Honestly, it's great to like watch. It's so funny. But that's also another idea for you if you want to spice things up when you have flatmates around or family. So,
Natalie, tell me you have a friend that has done this and that they have told you about that experience.
I'm sure I do have a friend, but yeah, not one that I'm going to share right now. But yeah, but kind of going the other extreme, if you have nobody around, and if you're doing a long distance relationship, how do you nurture that? How do you keep that going kind of through lockdown?
I think planning dates is still important, even if you can't be in the same room. I think if just having a consistent, like every Friday, we will have dinner together on Zoom and we'll push through it. Like, it's not going to be ideal, but we'll do it. And I think also like really embracing like tech intimacy, so sexting or pictures or videos or whatever you're comfortable with. And I do think with that you need to have conversations about like how far you'll go. The trust needs to be there 100%. You need to feel comfortable, but it's definitely a way to kind of keep things going before you can kind of be together. And it does still show that you're both still thinking about each other. I mean, wanting each other doesn't go away despite not being together. So it's kind of a way to kind of keep things ticking over and kind of feeling sexy in yourself too, because I think that can really go away if you are not together. And it's important that you still feel that way.
Definitely.
Alice, because this is a Valentine's special episode, can you give us a hint on what you have planned for Valentine's Day?
Well, it's my boyfriend's birthday the day before, so we're going to do something for that. And then usually I'm very much get takeout food, watch a movie, that kind of thing. But I'm thinking, I'm thinking like this year it'll have to be something a bit more, because like we've just not done anything this year. So I was like, might get sort of takeout food, create like a little home cinema, and just kind of try and make it as much of a thing as possible. And I'm really not a Valentine's Day kind of person normally. So I was just like, no, it has to be special. Everything has to be special this year. So yeah, just try and really be together. Because it's really easy not to be, I think, this year. It's really easy to have your head elsewhere, think everything else is more important. And it's not, like, it's still a priority.
So it's not really about what you're going to do, but about being intimate. And just to clarify, when I'm talking about intimacy, this is for everybody to hear, I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about communicating, being together and having that close relationship at that moment. So is that what Valentine's Day, at least this year, is for you? Being intimate?
Yeah, for sure. It's sort of very much about like, not being on your phone or thinking about other stuff, or like doing work emails or whatever, just sort of enjoying each other's company and doing something like that's a little bit of a treat or whatever, getting food or watching a movie or whatever, and just enjoying each other's time, I think, because I think it's been very easy this year to get carried away with things, whereas it's nice just to be together and be intimate and just enjoy each other.
Those, I guess, who can't, again, kind of the long distance, do you have any, I guess, tips for how to have a good, Valentine's Day away from each other?
I think if you can meet up at all, even if you can go to sort of a socially distanced walk or anything, I think that is a really good thing, going for a walk, getting a takeout coffee and sort of trying to be together like that, and then going back and even making the same meal in your respective houses and then eating it together. So it's kind of, give you light candles and stuff, even if it's just yourself. It might feel a bit silly, but I think it gives you more of a sense of being together, even if there's a screen in front of you. just like, even like you can discuss the meal because you are both eating the same thing, and just it gives a sense of occasion. Whereas, you know, it's very easy to kind of just be like, oh, we can't be together, so we'll ignore it, we'll let it pass, and look, that's it. Whereas, you know, at least it like marks something, and it will be something you can look back on in, you know, years to come and be like, oh my gosh, do you remember that Valentine's Day that we sat on a video call and ate?
I like that tip. It's really cool.
Yeah. There's definitely ways, I think, of having virtual fun. Not only just eating, but I mean, yeah, there's video sex, there's phone sex, sexting.
Yeah.
And Natalie, tell us more.
I mean, no, Alice, do you have any tips on, you know, sexting? And you mentioned this before as well. On, how to kind of keep that intimacy going.
I think the uniquely like good thing about that is you can have conversations beforehand and be like, oh, like, this is what I'm into, like, you can speak very freely because you're not necessarily sat opposite someone with them looking straight at you and you're like, no, too shy. Whereas in that space, you can be more like, oh, I'd like to explore this, or, oh, I got new underwear, here it is, sort of thing. And kind of it's a way to kind of, it feels special. It feels different. I think it's not the same as being with someone, but it is a way for you to kind of express yourself and be intimate with someone when you can't be together. And also it's a way of like introducing things that when you can be together, you can be like, oh, do you remember when we spoke about that? Maybe we could actually do that. And it's kind of a safe space of introducing different things, like different positions or toys or stuff like that. It's just a good way to introduce things.
Definitely a good way of keeping things kind of fresh and spontaneous as well. Are there any kind of go-to Valentine's Day gifts that you think kind of everyone could appreciate? Or
I think depending on the person, because obviously everybody knows their partner uniquely, I think things that are generally kind of self-care-y, like chocolate or nice like food items is always good, or wine and stuff like that if they drink. And I think like underwear is always a good option. I think as long as you kind of know sizes and whatnot, I think that's always kind of a safe bet. And it's also a way of being like, I think about you like that. Like, I'd want to see you in that. It's kind of a good intro to stuff like that. And then like, I always love some flowers. Flowers are always nice, like a safe option. But I think speaking of this year, it's good to think about what your partner would really want and treating them in that way, because it's like, I'm still thinking of you. I do still want to be close to you. Toys are a good option, and just be like, oh, I like want to keep things exciting. And also giving them as a gift, it feels a bit like, oh, we share this. Like, this is something for both of us, sort of thing, which is always good.
Yeah, love that. Definitely great when you can kind of both get some enjoyment from it. So we've got a last question, and I actually think this one's probably from Mikaela. We've got a user saying that they want to purchase the Pleasey Box as a gift for their partner on Valentine's, but they're not sure what to expect. Can you tell them a little more about what they could expect?
Yes. So first of all, like Alice was saying, I think purchasing something that is like a sex toy. So our Pleasey Box has sex toys. We have 3 to 4 items, very good quality, and they're to be used in partnered sex. Well, some of the toys are for solo use, but you can definitely ask your partner to give you a hand, literally, and or not. But the thing is, what we have with the Pleasey Box is we help couples to, try new things, like Alice was saying, and to spice up the relationship in a joint venture. Not sure this is the right wording, but yeah, in a joint way. So what people can expect with the box is full of toys, and we explain through our app. So we have our app already available on iOS. They can see how to best use the toys, and we've got very hot tips and challenges. So a challenge, for example, could be tonight do a massage or try this position with this sex toy. So it's very, very different for each person, because the box and the app are personalized. But please do reach out to us if you want to know a little bit more about the box and about the experience. We're happy to answer in our social media, email, and everything else. Natalie, thank you so much for asking all of these questions and for putting Alice in the spot. Sorry about that, Alice.
Yeah, sorry about that. We got deep. It was great.
No, they were great questions as well. They were so varied.
As a final tip for everybody, this is something that we ask all of our guests, and we always have different answers, and that's something that I love. And Natalie, I would also love to hear your thoughts on this too. So how do you keep your relationship open, exciting, and intimate? I know these are three very different things, but is there a way for us to do this and make our relationships even better?
For me, it's about always about kind of really open communication. So whether that's kind of explaining how you feel emotionally or as far as intimacy goes, like I think people get quite shy about saying or writing that they're kind of turned on, like they want to kind of have that kind of chat. I think just always having that open communication and back into with your partner, it makes you ultimately closer on every level. So that's really like very important to me anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think being open and being able to be honest with your partner is super key. And if you can't, then that definitely needs some working on. I think in terms of keeping things exciting, kind of just always trying something new, kind of as you say, like whether that's a meal, whether that's going to a different place, taking a different walk, obviously pre-COVID times, going somewhere new and traveling. But yeah, an adventure either way.
Well, this was an amazing episode. I think Alice has given us such a great feedback. By the way, Alice, where can people search for you if they want to know more about sex, relationships, education, and tech? Health, sorry, not education.
Absolutely. I'm on Twitter. It's just Alice Broster 1. And I write mostly for kind of Bustle and Forbes. So if you just search Alice Broster, Forbes, you'll get me. But yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Also, Natalie, she is our star in managing our community. So give a shout to Natalie in our community. Talk to her whenever you need. She's here to help you as well navigate your relationships and try new things.
And if you have any questions at all, feel free to come ask.
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
And that was Intimacy Play. We hope you enjoyed it. To find out more about Pleasy and how we can take your relationship to the next level, visit pleasyplay.com. Then also make sure to search for Intimacy Play in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Pleasy, thank you for listening.